All right, so tonight I will be tuning in for OKC versus the Spurs game 6 in the Western Conference Finals tonight. I just wanted to hop on here really quick and do just a little bit of a check-in, share my thoughts about the game, and also something that has come to my attention that I wanted to bring up in reference to another video that I had. So, without further ado, these are a couple of things. Okay, let me just do a recap of where we stand in this series and things of that nature, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so currently the OKC is up in the series 3-2 versus the Spurs, and tonight is game 6, and OKC has the chance tonight to go ahead and close out the series against the Spurs to advance to the NBA championship against the New York Knicks. Now, honestly, the Knicks versus OKC or the Knicks versus the Spurs, I think would be a really great championship game regardless, but I'm leaning more towards OKC, wanting to see OKC versus the Knicks because the Knicks seem to be pretty unstoppable this season, but I don't know if they are 100% unstoppable against OKC because that team is just so resilient, and I mean the players are just so strong. And I enjoy watching OKC play. I've mentioned in other videos I don't really claim a particular team per se. I watch a lot of different teams because I like a lot of different players. But I do tend to watch more OKC games than any. And I don't know that it's just because they're a winning team. I really actually enjoy watching a lot of their players play, which I guess goes into why they're a winning team. But in any event, so where do we stand in the series? OKC is up 3-2. Game 1, the Spurs won. Wemby had 41 points in that game. He was balling out of control. And the thing that made me a little bit nervous about game 1 is like SGA just didn't seem all the way there, like all the way present. And I know they're human. They all have their days or whatever. But I was like, okay, now, hopefully this is just he got to, shake off that long period where they had off. And I think that that's really kind of what it was because they had such a long break by the time they had to play the series against the Spurs. So I just chalked it up to that. All right. Game 2, OKC came back and won. SGA definitely showed he made up for his lack of, showing up for game 1, but he definitely showed up for game 2. He showed out. But game 2 was bananas because that dunk that Castle did over what's his name? Hergenstein. I can't never say his name right. That dunk was bananas. I was like, oh no. It was just, that game was just really a really great game. All of the games have been pretty good, honestly, but that game was just bananas. The teams, they were just scrapping. They were hustling. It was just a great game to watch when you have two super competitive teams like that. I just think it makes for great, great basketball. In any event, OKC won game 2 and 3. Hartenstein, that's his name, Hartenstein, the guy that Castle dunked on. But in any event, that was a great game to watch. But OKC ended up winning game 2 and 3. And then game 4, out of nowhere, Spurs came back and won, keeping the series alive. And I was like, okay, is this going to go to game 7? But judging by the way OKC looked in game 5, I don't know. I think they have a really high probability of closing out this series tonight. But we'll see. We'll have to see. So, in any event, I'm looking forward to it. Now, these are the things that I'm specifically watching for tonight. So, who shows up more for their team? Is Wemby going to show up and show out? Is SGA going to show up and show out? Are they both going to show up and show out for their teams? And we go into like a double overtime type situation. I don't know. We'll see. But I'm just interested in seeing who ends up showing up more for the team tonight. And I'm willing to bet SGA will show up more. But we'll see. We shall see. And also, I am interested in seeing if J-Dub will return to the game tonight. He's listed as questionable. But honestly, I think they'll probably just keep him out and rest him. Because OKC, they've been doing pretty good. I mean, throughout the whole entire playoffs, they've been doing pretty good without Jalen Williams. So I don't think that their success really depends that heavily on Jalen Williams. But when he did come back in game 1 in this series against the Spurs, like, he was showing out. But he got re-injured, and we'll talk about that here in a second. But I'm just interested in seeing if he'll play or if they will just go ahead and keep him out. I don't know that they said he'd be out for the rest of the season or not. But if they're listing him as questionable, I doubt that they're anticipating him being out for the rest of the season. But we shall see what happens tonight. They may have already announced it, and I just haven't looked up that information just yet. And something else, Caruso, just being so clutch for OKC this entire series. That Caruso, he is one of the players that I enjoy watching a lot because he's just so scrappy and he's always hustling and he just be showing out like every game. Like as soon as they put him in, he is all in, and I love that about him. I love the way he plays. And so I'm interested in just seeing if he continues that, which I'm pretty sure he will. I think it was the last game or the game before that, he kind of got injured. They had to take him out. I think he had to go to the locker room or something. I can't remember exactly what happened, but I was a little nervous because I was like, he's kind of keeps it alive, when they're resting, SGA and some of the other players. But in any event, definitely looking for him in OKC's game tonight. And one thing that I've noticed is that, and it's just my perspective, it just seems this way, but it seems like the media is heavily favoring the Spurs. Like they tend to focus a lot on Wemby. I'm just going to say Wemby because I be butchering his name too. So I'm kind of looking at it with a squint eye because I'm like, conspiracy theories, sports betting, that sort of thing. And I'm just like, they seem to be kind of really heavily leaning on that narrative Wemby coming in and just dominating and taking over all the things. But OKC is like, not so fast. We're here for a reason. We're number 1 for a reason, right? So just interested in seeing ultimately if this is going to go to a game 7 or not. But this is the opportunity for OKC to go ahead and close out the series and get a good week in before going to the championship. So we will see. All right, now, this is the point that I wanted to bring up, and I kind of alluded to it earlier when I was talking about J-Dub getting re-injured after coming back. He had missed 6 games because I did a video about this. The video that I kind of talked about this in a little bit more detail is called Burnout Recovery Takeaways from Spurs versus OKC in Game 1. And I talked about the decision to go ahead and let J-Dub rest for additional time, longer than medically necessary, because they wanted him to come back completely healthy for the series against the Spurs. And he came back Game 1 and he was showing out, and he definitely appeared that he was 100% back, right? Lo and behold, we get to Game 2. And early in the Game 2, I don't know if it was the first quarter or the second quarter. I can't quite remember. The same hamstring injury that he had that had him miss 6 games in the series in the playoffs, I guess it got aggravated again, and they took him out like early in Game 2, and he has not been playing since. And I wanted to bring this up because in that video, I kind of harped on that, resting longer than you might feel like you need. I related it to recovering from burnout and resting, taking time off, whatever rest looks like for you, taking time off of work, etc. Um, and I I used the um, I compared it to like I use the analogy of treating yourself like an elite basketball player, right? An injured elite basketball player that needs to be rested, right? You need to take care of yourself. You should rest, longer than you think, because we come back a little too soon, and then we end up hitting a wall again. And I kind of feel like it's that theme is kind of recurring with J-Dub and his injury, because even though they rested him longer than necessary, he didn't he didn't stay in the game. He didn't stay in the game for as long as they probably anticipated he would be able to, right? He made one game, and he played awesomely. He played spectacularly in game one, and he was on his way to do it again, I think, in game two, but that hamstring got him again. So what does that say? Maybe he did come back still a little too soon. And I just kind of wanted to bring that point back home, because it was kind of like it was one of those things that kind of stood out to me, like, oh dang, yeah, I did talk about that, specifically, coming back too soon. And it seems like that may have been, the case for J-Dub. And it's just, again, another lesson, in burnout, because it's exactly what happens, when we come back, too soon. We may run into those same problems coming rushing right back, that ended up taking us out of the game in the first place, right? So I just thought, that it was kind of, very timely that I could tie that lesson back into this video, because it's the same situation still ongoing here, up to here it is game 6 now. So yeah, I just thought, that was just a good way to kind of point that out, how important it is to rest and take time, more time than you think, to recover from burnout. And I kind of talked about that in the last video. However long you had been experiencing the burnout symptoms, you probably need to take twice or maybe 3 times as long on a recovery. And I know it probably sounds crazy. You're probably like, nah, I can't do that. I can't take that much time off from work. But if work is the thing that's affecting your health, mentally, physical, you need the time. You got to take care of you. You know what I mean? And that's why I talk so much about saving an FU fund, specifically for these types of things. When you need to take an extended period of time off from work, at least you have a little financial safety net in the bag. But I'll do more videos about FU funds and stuff in the future. Getting into, it's a lot of things I'm juggling right now, but definitely looking forward to getting into my financial bag with you later on. But in any event, I just wanted to do that quick check-in. I'm about to go ahead and tune in to game 6, OKC versus the Spurs in the Western Conference Finals going on right now. So in the comments, let me know, are you going to be watching the game tonight? And who are you rooting for, OKC or the Spurs? And are you looking forward to a game 7? Or are you just ready for OKC versus Spurs to end already, so that we can see who's going to be squaring up in the NBA championship? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for checking in with me, hanging out with me, just to talk about this game preview really quick. And I will see you in the next video. Take care.